again and welcome back to Workbook 1 Session 3. We're nearly at the midway point of Term 1 already. Well done for all of the effort you've put in so far. So this task is going to have you develop a recipe, either your scone recipe or your pizza recipe. And developing your recipes is something you're going to be doing regularly throughout the course. It's a really important skill as a chef to adapt and improve recipes. So I'm going to give you tips on what sort of things you should be doing to help improve the recipe and make it an even better product. I'm also going to explain to you how you should write your recipe out. So let's get started. The design development recipe is an opportunity for you to revisit and make improvements and developments to one of the previous two cooks. So you could choose either to develop the scone or the pizza recipe. Now there might be slight improvements that you want to work on. So for example, if things didn't go quite according to plan and perhaps you burned a couple of your scones, you might want to take the opportunity to develop the scone recipe and improve that this time round. This is also your opportunity to completely develop and change the recipe. There are no rules here, so long as it fundamentally remains the same. So for example, some kind of scone-based dish. Perhaps you could turn a sweet dish into a savoury dish, or a savoury dish into a sweet dish. You can change ingredients, you can research and find new recipes, or you can write your own from scratch. The possibilities are endless. Try to be brave, think outside the box, and experiment. A key skill as a chef is learning how to listen to other people's feedback and criticisms. When you cooked your scones or recipes, you should have had other people taste your products. Hopefully they were able to give you some constructive feedback. They probably would have told you what was good about your product and what maybe could be improved. Both of these things are going to help you with developing your recipes. If something has been highlighted as particularly good about your product, you need to make sure you keep that element within the recipe. Hopefully your taste testers were able to give you some constructive feedback that would also give you some ideas on how you could develop the recipe further. Perhaps they suggested that your pizza needed more cheese or more colourful vegetables with a variation of texture. These are all things that you should think about when you're developing your recipe, as it shows a good understanding of what your customers might want. When it comes to writing out your recipe, whilst there's no actual rules about this, there are some key points that you should follow. Although you're writing this recipe for yourself, you should try to write this recipe as if you were providing some instructions for somebody else, making it really clear and concise. You need to start with an equipment list. This will help somebody to prepare before they start cooking. It can be really challenging if you're in the middle of cooking something and you realise that you need a piece of equipment that you can't easily get to. It's also important to have an ingredients list with precise quantities. If you were baking a cake and the ingredients list just stated milk, eggs and flour without the quantities, there's a good chance that you're going to create a sloppy mess instead of a beautiful cake. So make sure you have precise quantities for each of the ingredients. When writing out the method, you need to write it as a step-by-step instructions. It should be fairly easy to follow, so you don't want it to be too wordy and too difficult to read through, especially if you're reading the recipe as you're cooking. It should, however, refer to technical terms, so for example, the rubbing in method. Remember to write your recipe as if you were writing it for somebody else to follow. Don't assume that they would understand each of the steps. Make it really clear and easy to follow. You should now have the information you need to complete the practical session and workbook for session 3. I can't wait to see your creative ideas.